provinciales, nos municipalités.
Our
Et ce qu'on va
municipalities.
voir maintenant avec l'aide de monsieur,
And
de
now what
notre
we're going to
collègue
look
Kevin, c'est
into with our colleague Kevin
l'opportunité d'intégrer ensemble
is
tous
the
ces
opportunities
facteurs
to
qui
integrate
contribuent à la
all together
crise.
the
Et c'est
factors
non
that are
seulement une
contributing
crise
to
au
the
Canada,
crisis. And this is not
c'est
just
une
a
crise
crisis in Canada.
aux États-Unis,
It's a
c'est une
crisis
crise
in the
entre
United
nos
States
deux pays.
and
Et ce qu'on
between
a
our
vu
two
ici
countries.
aujourd'hui,
What we've seen here
c'est un
today
niveau de coopération
is a level of cooperation
simplement
that is
phénoménal
quite
entre
simply
nos deux pays et
phenomenal.
nos deux
Cooperation
services
between our two
frontaliers, par
countries
exemple.
and our two border
Mr.
services.
Brosseau, I recognize it's your first day, but you must have been giving this some thought. What are you hoping to achieve on this pretty tight deadline, given that tariffs could be put back in place put in place on March 4th?
I'm hoping to be able to give an intensity to the work being carried out by thousands of men and women in this country and the United States trying to deal with the real public safety and national security crisis that is fentanyl. Bringing that integrated approach, bringing the teams together, ensuring the collaboration, ensuring the communication is happening at officials level on both sides of the border in communities across the country.
Hi, Mr. Brosseau. Thanks for taking questions. I'm Jillian Piper with Global News. My question to you is that we know that Canada already represents less than 1% of the fentanyl going into the United States. Do you think we can realistically get that number to zero?
Getting the number to zero is, in fact, a goal and should be our goal. If it's 1 pound, 10 pounds, we all know the amount of deaths that possibly could represent. This is a national security and a public safety crisis. We should be focused on eliminating the scourge that is fentanyl in this country and in the United States.
And have you spoken with Border Czar, Mr. Holman, about your appointment? Are you planning to speak with him in the coming days?
I hope to speak with him soon. In fact, I spoke with the ambassador of the United States last night, and she and I talked about getting to D.C. very, very soon to be able to have those conversations. I've already, of course, as you know, spent some time here at the border. I'm being briefed by senior Canadian law enforcement officials later on today and tomorrow to understand the current situation on the ground, and I look forward to continuing those conversations with my American counterparts very soon. If I had the opportunity, I would say that this is a clear demonstration of how serious Canada is taking the fentanyl crisis in this country and how important our relationship is with our American counterparts. Look, I've spent a number of years working in law enforcement. As you know, I practiced law in the U.S. I know how important those relationships, those collaborations are on the ground to be able to actually be force multipliers for the efforts. We're stronger together. We'll be better at this together. Thanks.
I just had a question about the title. Why are we going with czar?
Listen, the focus here is on demonstrating the level of seriousness that we're now putting forward through this appointment, through Kevin's appointment, to reconcile all of these different factors that are at play. This is not just a Canadian challenge. This is a Canadian and an American challenge. We are connected at the hip. This is part and parcel of the relationship that we've managed well for 150 years. We have an obligation to continue to make that work. There's a reason why the border is still the longest undefended border in the world, and we intend to keep it that way. 400,000 people a day cross that border, $3.25 billion a day in trade. There's a lot at stake for our peoples in the United States and in Canada. There is a way to find our way forward here. I think that the administration knows this. I think it's going to take cool heads and a disciplined approach to find our way forward. I'm convinced we're going to find our way forward. I think the work that our new fentanyl czar is going to be performing is going to help placate any concerns. It's going to show the level of cooperation we already have between our countries. It's going to show the level of integration. We just saw it here on the border. These folks here at CBSA and the RCMP are working with their American counterparts every single day. We should jealously guard this border. We should, of course, make it strong, make it stronger, but we should jealously guard the fact that we have this wonderful relationship our largest trading partner, our immediate neighbor, our greatest ally. This is what we're working towards. Ultimately, it's important for both Canadians and Americans to realize this. The best outcome is not to have tariffs on either of our economies. We think there's a win-win that's in place. We think there's a win-win that can be had. But if we enter into a tariff dispute, we see this as a lose-lose proposition for both our peoples. And so today we're here to visit this particular crossing with Kevin Brosseau to indicate clearly to the Canadian and American people, we understand this relationship. We understand what's at stake. There's a real opportunity for us to continue to flourish together. That's what we're trying to do.
I did have a question for Mr. Brosseau as well. Just wondering whether or not you've been given any directive in terms of tangible goals here in the short or medium term. What are you hoping to achieve? Is there anything tangible there that you can share with us?
Yeah, and I'll communicate more with that over the course of the next few days. My mandate is clear: to be able to bring people together, to integrate the work, and produce results. So I guess I'd say it is day one, but stay tuned. I hope to be able to demonstrate and show that, the tangibility of that work.
Hey there, David Baxter with the Canadian Press. My questions are for Minister McGuinty. We've seen, of course, this executive order. It talks about border security. It talks about the fentanyl crisis. But everything Donald Trump has said about these tariffs points to this is an economic game he's playing. He's talked about banks. Even in his statement, he says he wants to negotiate a final economic deal with Canada before March 4th to try to stave off these tariffs. Can you really trust him to negotiate in good faith when on paper this is about the border, but everything the president says this isn't about the border, it's about economics?
What we're doing here today is what we'll be doing tomorrow, what we did yesterday, which is to continue to strengthen our border. We need to do this in part because our largest ally, our neighbor, our largest trading partner, has indicated some concerns. And so we are investing both for Canadians and for the relationship we have with our most trusted ally. We're going to proceed as we always have, with good faith and goodwill. There's progress to be made. I will say this about any discussion that goes any further around this question of 51st state. And I think Canadians want to be quite clear about this. Canada is an independent and sovereign country, and it has been for 150 plus years. It will remain so. That's just not up for discussion. So we're moving forward now to remind ourselves, remind our American colleagues and neighbors, there's a lot at stake here. There's a win-win scenario. There's a pathway for us to find our way forward, and that's exactly what we're doing.